Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me in the locker room. I'm Alan Locher. Today, we are paying tribute to the unforgettable, the talented, and the very missed Marj Dusay. We lost Marj at the age of 83 on January 28th, 2020, and this tribute is long overdue. Marj's career in daytime began 41 years ago last month when she made her debut on Capitol playing the powerful Washington, D.C. matriarch Myrna Clegg. She moved over to Santa Barbara in 1987 to play Pamela Capwell, Conrad, then over to Days of Our Lives to fill in for Vivian Alamain. And in August of 1993, she moved to Springfield, taking over the role of Alexandra Spaulding from Beverly McKinsey on Guiding Light. She played this role on and off until the end of the series in 2009. But also during that time, she originated the role of Vanessa Bennett on All My Children from 1999 to 2002. In addition to her roles in daytime, Marj had several roles in film and on primetime television, working opposite Elvis Presley in Clambake, playing the role of Blair Warner's mother, Monica, on The Facts of Life, and an alien on the cult classic Star Trek, to name a very small few. Marj's real-life daughter, Deborah Blocker, and Marj's friends and on-screen family are here to share their memories of this magnificent lady. Vincent Irizarry had the unique opportunity to play her son not only once, but twice, both on All My Children and Guiding Light. Ron Raines played her brother on Guiding Light, and Nicholas Walker was also her son on Capitol. Please help me welcome to the locker room Deborah Blocker, Vincent Irizarry, Nicholas Walker, and Ron Raines will be here shortly. Hello, everybody.
Hey,
Hello.
everyone.
Hi. Hi.
Wonderful to see you all.
Same here. You know, the fans, you know, your mom, Deborah, made an indelible mark in their memories. I'd love to hear from you about your mom. You know, what was she like at home?
Well, at home, what was she like? She was amazing. She was my mother. Most of all, she was a brilliantly committed mother. My brother and I always knew that no matter what, we were loved. There was none of this showbiz mom stuff going on. She was there for us. Family mattered. She made sure we went back home to Russell, Kansas every year in the summers when we first moved to LA, because she wanted us to have a real, grounding and be involved with our family. We were always with her. Whatever she did, we were first in her mind. And she was fun. And for me, she was my idol. I have an amazing father too, but my mother, I knew I was going to do this. My mother raised my brother and I basically by herself. And it's tough to have two teenage kids in Los Angeles when you've got a full-time career going on. And we always knew we were loved. There was never any doubt that we were absolutely loved. And if she needed to put her fist down, she goes, listen, you guys are going into Westwood for the weekend. You're going to go there for the night. You be back here by 11 p.m. or I'm calling the cops. I swear to God. And she meant it. We knew she meant it. So we had to be home. We had to be, and she always made sure we were taken care of. And it really was a very colorful life. I feel so blessed in that I got to live so many aspects of life. We moved a lot. We traveled. We did things. She gave my brother and I incredible opportunities that we would have, never had if we hadn't been with Marj. But she really was fun and exciting and interesting. And best of all, I loved her sense of humor. She had a great, as the guys know, she had a great sense of humor. And I got to say, she loved her leading men. She dug guys. She loved guy energy. That was a thing for her. I just think she felt in her element. She was extremely independent and funny. And I looked up to her because she was so independent. And somehow she made everything work. I don't know how she did it, but my brother and I'd be going, Mom, you can't do that. And she goes, well, just have him do that or that. It would be fine. She was that kind of a lady. And it was very glamorous too, but she was not a diva type. Well, she was not a glamorous, she was very down to earth, but we always,
very true.
oh yeah. Very
certainly, certainly glamorous. And
glamorous.
I took some of those photos you sent, Deborah, and we'll have a little montage at the end. George Anderson IV, thank you so much for doing this. I miss my Aunt Marge so much, but I know my daddy and her are telling the greatest family stories for eternity.
Yeah. Oh, George. Yeah, he's my cousin-in-law.
Okay.
My cousin. Yeah.
Vincent and Nicholas, were you aware of who Marge was before you had the luck of working opposite her?
No.
Well, I'll let you, Nicholas, go first because you worked with her first on Capitol.
Yeah, I mean, so she came into Capitol what I call under duress, because Carolyn Jones from the Addams Family played the original Myrna Clegg, and that was a powerhouse woman as well. And there was different iterations of different people trying to capture that role. And so it was interesting for me as an actor to go through different iterations of the Myrna. And then Marge showed up, and we had an audition for the network, CBS. And we had the scene, and we just clicked. And it was John Conboy, the executive producer and creator of Capitol, looked at me after the scene, and we both smiled. We said, finally, we have the Myrna. So that was a very interesting process for me as a young actor. I was in my 20s. And what was great about her, because she's never, I think, did daytime, except Capitol was the first show that she did. At first, it was... she always looked at me and said, how do I do this? Hi, I'm supposed to memorize these lines. They changed the lines. I'm not using it. I said, Marge, just, have fun. You'll be fine. And it was an interesting rock and roll bumpy road. But at the end, she looked at me and said, by God, I think I got it. She did.
I love that. Well, let's take a look at you and Marge in action.
All right, man, I'm sitting down. Now just tell me what this latest crisis is all about.
Your father, of course, and his penchant for having sordid little affairs.
Affair, Myrna, not affairs.
You and Geordie marry and decide to cheat on your wives someday. I hope it's going to be a lesson to you.
Oh, now, wait a second. You just leave me out of it.
Well, you're both already in it. You and Trey. Up to your royal conniving little neck. And that's why I'm glad you're here. I just sent Brenda to the house to bring Sam over here to face the music. So you just prepare yourselves for a showdown.
Oh, thanks a lot, Myrna.
It's about time that we got to the bottom of this whole sordid mess once and for all. So you just forget whose side you've been on up to now. Whatever lies or covered stories you've told to your father or to me, because that's all past history. There's a whole new deal now. And I am going to...
She certainly made Myrna her own.
Oh, she did. And it was, I'll never forget the look that John Conboy looked at me and went, yeah. And it was, because it was a very hard, Carolyn Jones was dying and still showed up to work. And she was so impactful in that first year. So it was like, how do we ever replace that? And I think that's why we went through different iterations. But when Marge came in with that, I think it's that panache and a sense of humor underneath that glamour that hooked us all. And beyond all that, she never took it too seriously and always liked to poke fun. And that's why we had such a great time together all the time.
I was thinking of that, Deborah, when you're talking about your mom was so fun. I knew these guys knew her. I wish the fans could have seen a little more of that, because, Myrna was a stern character. Alexandra, Vanessa Bennett. I mean, it wasn't the fun side that you all really got to see. I think this is Marge's sister, right? Kathy Dunn?
Yes.
Is that
Yeah, that's
Kathy?
his sister.
Kathy's watching, and she says, "Hi to all of you watching. This is a beautiful tribute for Marge, and it brings tears to my eyes. I miss her so much."
Yeah, Kathy was really involved with everything, and Marge, and helping Marge along too.
Vincent, listening to Nicholas, here he is talking about Marge taking over, for Carolyn, and I just think of what Marge was able to do coming to Guiding Light for that first time.
Absolutely. Now you asked first if I knew who she was, and I had absolutely no opportunity prior to working with her as Alexandra, but I certainly knew who she was. Years earlier, when Capitol was on, I was at one point dating Catherine Hicklin, and she talked always about her. She kept talking about how wonderful she was, and just her coming on in replacement, and how brilliant she was in coming in. And I can honestly say, when she came in to replace Beverly McKenzie, that was probably one of the more difficult replacements I can imagine for anybody in that medium, without question. Because Beverly McKenzie was an icon. She was a force of nature. And 6 months after she chose to leave the show, they were like, "We need to bring back Alexandra." And we're like, "Wow, who are they going to bring?" And when they brought in Marge, like Vanessa and Alexandra, brought her in, she was equally a force of nature right away. She was fantastic. It was seamless. She made it her own. And I was just so impressed with working with her. And, she had those elements of, yes, she had the dramatic, but she also had the comedic that was there. And even working with her as Vanessa, when she was the most sinister or psychotic, which she was, that character was a bit psychotic. You always had a sense of humor about it too. And it was wonderful to watch. It was delicious to watch her. She had so many levels. I had such a wonderful experience working with her on two different shows. I remember when they were casting Vanessa, and I went down to Judy Wilson, who was the casting director on the show, and I asked who they were considering, and they just had taped several people, and she brought up Marge, and I'm like, they loved her, and I said, "Oh wow, that's fantastic. Marge is brilliant. She could absolutely do this role." And I said, "She played my mother on Guiding Light," and she first said, "Oh, I hope that's going to be okay, that she was your mother on another show." And I'm like, this is one big repertory company. They said, if she's the right person, don't let that go. And I don't think she needed. Judy Wilson is brilliant. She absolutely didn't need me to push that along, but that was just what I felt and shared with her immediately. And they went with her because she was the best one for that role. And she just created such, and for me, for my character, for David Hayward, that brought my character to another level as well, because of the relationship they wrote between my mother and with him. I just loved working with Marge. She was just, you never knew what you were going to get. She had this quirkiness about her, from moment to moment. And it was beautiful. She had this little, like under this laugh that she would have, like in the middle of a line or something. She would just, it was very subtle. It was like, she'd be like this or something. And it was in the middle of like nothing. Oh, okay. And I just loved it. I loved it. Yeah. I loved working with her. She was brilliant. She really was.
Well, I wanted to read two comments from fans. Patrick Newell said, in the immortal words spoken by Marge on her first couple of episodes of GL, Aunt Alex is back, and man, was she. I loved Marge and her take on Alexandra Spaulding. She was a powerhouse actress and always delivered in her performances of Alex. She shined to the end of her performances after Alan's death. She was absolutely brilliant. And Kayla says, say it again?
I said she absolutely was.
She was. And Kayla said, I was reluctant to like at first, being a diehard Beverly fan, but when she choked the hell out of Alan Spaulding, she won me over, and I was happy she kept the role going after Beverly.
Yeah. I don't think there was any other actress. I can't imagine, even as talented as all these great many actresses are in that medium and surrounding it, I can't imagine anybody coming and doing the job that Marge did. I just can't. She was fantastic. She was brilliant.
And it really wasn't easy. at all, you know, because fans were so hooked on Beverly. So that just makes it even harder. Thankfully, I think it was a combination of who Marge was and the writing for her return.
Without question.
That made it, you know, here she is with Allison Janney, and I'm blanking on the other young woman, but they were phenomenal, these three.
Yeah, they were.
Phenomenal.
I ran into Allison Janney at a TV Academy event years ago and went up to her, and she was wonderful. She was great, and just reminded her, because she was recurring on that show.
Yeah,
she came in and she would do a few scenes one day, and then it was like 3 months later another one. Yeah, she was hardly on that at all. But every time she come on, I loved watching what she and the other actors were doing. I was like, they're so great together. They had this comedic quality about them that they were wonderful. And with Marge, fantastic. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, let's take a look at you, Vincent.
Get away from her!
I can't tell you how sorry I am. I mean, I was feeling under the weather, you know that, and I wanted to stay at home. I didn't want to inflict myself on anybody.
Don't! Okay? You're not sick, and I'm not stupid. You just didn't want to go to the engagement party, that's all.
Look, I understand. What you saw was very upsetting.
You hit her.
And after all you've done, trying to juggle family obligations and your obligations to Mindy, you have a right to expect more.
Don't you get it? Don't you get it? It has nothing to do with obligations towards Melinda. I love her, Alexandra. I'm asking her to be my wife.
I know that.
Do you really? Because you act like she's some kind of a nuisance, some detour on my road back to you.
Listen, no, darling, I want you to live your own life. I do. And anyone you would choose to marry, any girl I would welcome with open arms. Any girl except this one.
This is the one that
Any girl but this one.
That one.
Any girl but this one. Here's our Vanessa.
Not gallant. Hello, David.
Why are you here?
Out of concern, of course.
You don't expect me to believe that you're actually in emotional distress about Erica.
My concern is about you, dear. Do you remember the article you wrote for the New England Digest of Medicine?
I've written many articles for that publication.
Yes, and I've read many of your articles, too. But this one was about 6 years ago. You said that any doctor who became emotionally involved with his patient's recovery lost 40% of his effectiveness, or to some effect like that. Don't look so shocked, darling. I do read things other than the fashion magazines and the gossip columns. And I am your mother. I do keep up.
I just noticed that the person captioned it as David and Erica.
Did it say that?
It said in the corner. It might have been a longer scene there.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
As well. Did you both hit it off with Marge from the beginning?
I did, absolutely. And both of those performance roles, without question. Yeah.
Now, in the initial scene, literally, I was like, finally, here we are.
Yeah.
It was instantaneous. And I think it's just her incredible sense of humor.
Yeah. As I said, I had heard about her, and I'd seen some scenes of hers on Capitol. We don't have the opportunity when we're working on these shows to watch a lot of shows. We just don't. But I had seen some of her work before. So when she was coming on as Alexandra, I had confidence in it. I knew that it was going to be a Herculean effort to do that, to replace Beverly. But she came in, and I was very happy to have somebody come in to try to recreate that role. And she just, like I said, it was seamless. She really was fantastic right from the get-go. And I know it was also, and I do remember this, and I hope it's okay that I bring this up, Deborah. I know about the passing of your brother. When that happened when she was playing Alexandra. And that was a very difficult time for her, obviously. And, but she didn't falter at all in her work as a performer, as a professional. But I could see it was weighing on her evidently. It was obvious that it would. So it was a very difficult time during the time when your brother passed, and I'm sorry for your loss as well.
Thank you. Yeah, and she had both sisters supporting her, but she had her kind of a right hand man in Marianne, her sister, who did a lot of things with her, and Marianne was flying back and forth with her at the hospital.
That's right. I do remember that.
Right, doing everything. Yeah, so
right.
she was Marge's rock, and it's interesting because Randy, I remember he had flown to New York. I think maybe it was the Guiding Light role, maybe it wasn't the Alexandra role, but in '93, I think she got that role, and it was strange because we knew he was ill, we knew he was going to pass. In those days, you passed of AIDS, and
right.
He was in New York with her, and he was going over. She told me he went over the lines with her. And he told her one line, just a way to say it. And she said, oh, my God, it just made all the difference. You know, when she went into the audition, she felt so confident. And I was actually 6 months pregnant when Randy passed. So Marj had just gotten the show, and I had my daughter coming. So it was a strange thing that he kind of left us off in our new section of our lives, you know, before he left. But he was... I mean, you know, the three of us were just three peas in a pod.
Here.
Wow.
That's about 3 weeks before he passed. I was pregnant, and we're in New York in Marge's apartment. You know, yeah, he was a doll. He really was, and he was funny and witty. All those wonderful things. He was such a great guy.
I was surprised when you said that in the email to me, because he does not look that ill at that moment.
No,
I know.
3 weeks before.
Yeah, it was amazing. We had gone on a trip with a good friend of mine, Joyce Rudolph, and we'd gone to see the leaves change in October in the East Coast. It was amazing. And she said, I would not know he was sick for this. He was a little more gaunt there, but it was inside, you know, and his count and all that had been going down. So it was in November that he came back and he passed. And
wow.
You know, it was huge for Marj and I. It was absolutely huge for us because we really were. He was a rock for my mom. He was that guy energy that she loved, you know, and needed. And he was a rock. And I think the work helped her. It helped her to be working so much. Obviously, we all go through the tragedies, you know, and if you haven't so far, you're just lucky so far. And, you know, if you've got your work and something to go to, that really saved her. You know, and it was a part of her life. Her work was her life. She was such an expressive person. She had so much in her that you guys experienced it. Her fans experienced it. That's just who she was. She just could give that and loved it, you know?
Yes.
That was who she was. So that to go to, you know?
Yeah.
And for Randy, I mean, you know, I know coming out when I did wasn't easy. But having both of your love and support must have meant the world to him.
Oh yeah. We were always 100% with him. Our whole family was. There was never any doubt in our family. And I remember Marj would try to express to other families, you know, as who she was. Don't turn your back on your son or your daughter. Don't turn your back on them when this happens. And now, gosh, you know, now if Randy could be alive now and see everything that's changed. The day I saw the White House with the rainbow lights on it, I thought it was a dream. You know, it was just amazing. And if he could be around today, but he was an amazing guy. It was a huge loss. But Marj had her work and her buddies and to keep her going. That's who she loved to be. You know.
Yeah.
Well, what was Randy like? What was he? You know, his career. You know, you followed, which I want to get to. You followed in Mom's footsteps. Was he in the arts at all?
He was into design. He was into design. He was one of those people that, you know, when people are talented, you have talent, and he was so good at it that it just kind of oozed out of him. He could just see, well, if you put that there and that there, and just, you know, it was so easy. And I remember he did a job for someone. He didn't want to charge them because he said, well, it was no big deal. And they're like, yeah, for us, that is. And that's what someone's talent is like, you know? So he was funny. He had a sense of humor that he was very observant and very kind of a black sense of humor, but really, really with it, very artistic and creative. He was, artists see things, they see the zeitgeist of what's happening in the world before it happens. And he kind of had that air about him all the time. And he was my best friend. He's the type. We would travel around the Southwest all the time together, driving around, going to he'd go, Deb, look, we're in an old coffee shop. You can get a piece of pie here, fresh baked cherry pie for 35 cents. That kind of stuff. That's normal. It's like, we dug that stuff, So
that would get me in the door.
Yeah, it's like, this is real stuff, and how cool is it in life? And so we had a lot of fun together, and we were so in sync, as was with Marj, So it was tough. It was really, really tough when he was gone. And thank God Marj and I had each other. We I think became even closer after that, spent a lot of time together.
I bet. And I read something about your mom talking about, prejudice of, she experienced around the time of his death, and how she really tried to fight that on every level going forward from his death on.
Yeah, I know she made a point of telling fans or any kind of interview, just got to love them. It really, you got to love your child, because some people still do have that, this is a big world, and different people have different points of view. And she really did try to, she actually went ahead and was working with God's Love We Deliver and some of the other AIDS organizations in New York she worked with. So, and she worked with other things too, but that was a big one for her, and us here in LA too, support that.
Well, and you mentioned your daughter was born around his death, correct? And,
right.
And she's getting married on Saturday.
Right. She's getting married on Saturday. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. She's really cool. She is so independent. She's an only child. And I don't know, she grew up with my husband and I and all of our friends. She's very independent, super smart. And also the first time she moved her head a little funny like that, it was just like Randy would do naturally as a joke. And I saw it and I went, oh my God, that's Randy. She has his kind of quirky thing too. Very observant. She's a nurse. She saw what my husband and I do. She goes, no way. I don't want anything. I want something real. I want a paycheck. No way. And we were like, good. And so she's traveled a lot. She's nursed in foreign countries, volunteered. And it's kind of natural for her. She's intrigued by that. She's intrigued by, all kinds of different situations. They spent Christmas Day in one of the biggest slums in Mumbai last year, just because they were there and it was fat. It's like she and her partner, they're big travelers. So, so
that's incredible. Well, Deborah, you did follow in your mom's footsteps. So I'm curious, what's your earliest memory of realizing what Marj did for a living?
Well, when Randy and I were little, knowing that my mom was on Star Trek that night, that was a big deal. And in those days, you couldn't record anything. So we would run home with all our friends to watch, Get Smart, Star Trek, and,
Here she is.
Yeah. The fact that she was on that show, that's kind of a badge of honor.
Absolutely.
Oh, you're not kidding.
No question.
She stole Spock's brain. And
and here she is.
When you talk about
Nicholas Coster.
Yeah.
Right. And when you talk about a sense of humor, boy, that show, she had a great sense of humor. There were a lot of scenes where she played a flighty kind of funny mom. She had a great sense of humor in that show. Yeah. So, where were we? Marj.
1 second. I think Ron is trying to get in. I have to. Give me a second. He was just texting. I know it's a long time ago for you, Nicholas. Is there an onset moment that stands out with Marj? Oh, did he freeze?
I think so.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
He looks like he froze.
Yeah, he did. Vincent, what about you? Do you have a favorite scene or story with Marge?
That's tough to say. A favorite. There were so many of them. I will say there was one scene where when Vanessa was becoming unspooled, and it was at a restaurant. I can't remember which restaurant it was in Pine Valley. She was becoming unspooled, and she was holding, I think, somebody at night, so holding a knife up to somebody, and all of us, the whole cast, was surrounding her, and she was just going on this long monologue, like rant, and that she was just, that was in her, like, her highest psychotic state. And I was standing next to Josh Duhamel, and across from us, Mark Consuelos was on the other side of the room, and he had a line that he had to say, but in the middle of it, he said his line, but he kind of like messed it up. He started saying the line, and then he went like let's say the line was like, "You shouldn't do that." So he went something like, "You shouldn't do that," like that. It didn't come out right.
Oh boy!
And they kept going on. But Josh and I saw it we were literally across from him. We were trying not to laugh. We were like this, and Marge is doing this brilliant work. We could not break it at all, because we did. It was this long monologue, like 4 pages long.
Oh, geez.
And we broke it because we were laughing. Mark was laughing. We couldn't stop. We were looking at each other, trying just doing everything we can to not break the scene, because she was doing such great work, and it was such a this major monologue. We were dying. We were done. We were like, tears were coming down our eyes.
That's when you need the blooper reel. The blooper reel.
And thankfully, they didn't come to us. Thankfully, we didn't have any more lines in that scene. It was all her. And when they said cut, we lost it. We just lost it. All of us.
Well, we lost Nicholas, it seems, but we did gain Mr. Ron Raines.
Mr. Ron Raines.
Hi, Ron.
Fashionably late. I am so sorry, you guys.
Hi.
How are you, sir?
I don't want to go into it. I want to talk about Marge and hear about Marge. I tell you, one of my favorite people of all time.
Absolutely.
Well, Ron, did you came in after her? She got there first when she replaced Beverly. Did you know who Marge was? Did you hit it off from the get-go?
No, I didn't even know what soap opera was. I was doing South Pacific at Paper Mill Playhouse outside of New York City. And I had committed to myself that I was going to work in the city and not be on the road for a while, because our daughter Charlotte was 5 at that time. Little did I know that I would be doing a daytime drama, a classic Guiding Light. But fast forward, my last one-on-one audition was with Marge and with Jill Farron Phelps. And I remember going into the conference room, sitting there, and I was prepared, man. I was really prepared, and met Marge, and she was sitting right across from me. And I asked Jill, I said, well, she said, if you want to read or stand or move around, whatever, if you want to sing, you could, I said, okay. And so we started the scene. And at that point, and that was the first time that Jill had ever even knew who the hell I was. So she turned my picture over to read my resume. And she said, oh, I didn't know you could sing it. The scene. But I remember Marge and I immediately had a connection. I mean, when we were reading this, it was just, we were connected. And that, you can't act. It's that chemistry thing that nobody really understands what it is, but they know when they see it or feel it. And Marge and I immediately had that. And she was a sister to me. She was the big younger sister, or whatever. We never could figure out who was older, Alexandra or Alan. But she and I were very close, and I admired that woman so much. And as I go through and have gone through.
Oh,
pain that she was in physically during the last, oh God, how many years, amazed me in the fact that she never complained. She never complained a bit. I would see her standing over on the side of the set or whatever, doing stretches, stretching her back out, stretching. She was an inspiration. And yes, like I heard the last part of Vince's story, being on the set with her and in a scene, if it was wonderful, because she would get into a monologue or whatever, and you would say, "Uh-oh, she's gone a little, oh," and you're listening, and all of a sudden you're starting to listen and pull for her, and then she somehow gets to the end and it makes sense, and then it's your line and you forgot it.
Yeah.
Because you've been watching Marge.
Yes.
Watching her climb out of that monologue and make sense out of what she said.
That's very true. That's a very good point.
Yeah, I just was, I'd be, God, she's going to, oh my God, she made it. And then I'll go, oh my God, what's my line? But
that's absolutely true.
That's funny.
That's funny. I want to say thank you to Amy Corbin, who shared a lot of videos, and a fan, Michael, shared a 1995 LA Times article with me. And Marge had this to say to the LA Times about replacing Beverly. I've always felt once you're doing a part, it is yours anyway. If you let the psychology of it say it's not yours, you're doomed. I couldn't work if I let her ghost follow me around, which is really so well said, and you know why we fell in love. Ron, she then went on to say, I have to find this. Give me one sec. She said this: they were describing the incredible chemistry that you and Marge shared. She said, Ron, it's a shame. Marge said, it's a shame they cannot be lovers, she says with a laugh.
Yeah.
That's what my aunt,
you can be married to your sister.
Yeah. That's what my Aunt Tilly says. She wants it to turn out that we are not really related. It could happen. You know, our father Brandon had a checkered past.
Oh yeah.
That's true.
Funny.
I mean, it's phenomenal. Well, you know, one of the fans, I read something earlier from a fan, and they talked about they weren't sure they would, you know, come to accept Marge as Alexandra. And they said the minute she slapped you, she was Alexandra. And I think that happens on this plane ride where you two are on the plane. So let's take a quick. Oh, hold on. We went too far.
Alex, look at it this way.
I don't
It's good news.
Your nerve.
It's good news, Alex. You're not going to lose me.
I was even praying for you. You know that. I was making deals with heaven.
And your prayers were answered, Alex. I did lie to you, but I was telling the truth when I said I was glad to have my sister back. Alex, be happy, Alex. We don't have to hide anything anymore. No more secrets. We can walk back into Springfield with our heads held high, daughter and son of Brandon Spaulding.
Signatures I got for you, those signatures. Giving you back all your assets. Oh, the groveling I did to Vanessa! And that mewing to Blake, and then putting up with Roger. Oh my God. Oh my God. The garbage that came out of my mouth because I was behalving you. Because you were.
Alex,
oh my
listen,
God, Alan.
As soon as we.
Do you remember that at all, Ron?
Yeah, I sort of do. I sort of do. Yeah.
Fun.
Someone said something the other day, because I don't check that out very. I never liked watching myself, unlike most of the actors on the stage, on the set. But someone said something the other day about with Philip and Ross and I. It was a wonderful scene, and I said, boy, I don't remember that at all, but that was a pretty damn good scene. But yeah, I do remember this. This was near the beginning, obviously, and yeah. that damn plane. I remember I loved it when we were on the plane. The plane set. Yeah, that was fun.
Looked like a lot of fun.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I love the fireworks and the drama. Oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
She definitely knew how to bring fireworks to a scene without question.
Yeah.
Without question. She was
Oh,
a force of nature. I love that.
Wonderful.
Well,
yeah,
and
it's yeah. And I remember Deb, I remember one of the last times. Well, because we did it a couple of 3 times. We would. This was after the show had closed, and she was having some physical challenges. We meaning Bruce Barry, the director, Justin, Peter Simon, I think Jay Hammer. I think Grant as well, all went over and she had tea. I said, you want to do tea? Oh, she'd love to do tea. So we had a tea, all the guys, all of her guys, and it was really, really so special to be with her. And
I was saying
always.
she loved her men. She loved her leading men. She
yes, she
high
did.
energy. She just was so happy she could be herself with that. She loved it and loved you guys. That was such an amazing, and she still has that hat. Or I have the hat.
It's really, it's something, Deb, because I remember we were going to do a memorial service right before the world shut down.
Yeah.
Remember you were going to come to town and we're going to throw a big party and toast,
we were going to do the whole thing, and then COVID. We came back
and
together,
then the world changed,
and everything stopped, and everything.
Yeah.
We ended up doing a family memorial in Kansas for her because her sister Mary Ann died 2 weeks after her. Passed 2 weeks after.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we
now was Mary the one that was always with her?
Yes, Mary Ann was the one that was with her. Right.
Well, he wanted to be with her.
God.
Yeah. So they
wow.
Mary Ann kind of, she said partly they had a big family, and Mary Ann kind of, raised her. She said, taught her to read and did a lot of things with her, and she was very close to Kathy. Kathy was involved and helped with fan
Yes, I remember Kathy too.
Yeah, Kathy was very involved, and but Mary Ann was kind of her right hand person a lot.
Yeah. The other wonderful thing, Debbie, was that, and we all did on the set. Vince, we loved showing pictures of our children and bringing them on the set or something.
Yeah.
And her in pictures and Deanie. I mean, she would say, "What's Deanie doing?" Oh, Deanie's going to. She was always showing photos of that.
Yeah,
and
she was
of her.
She was thrilled. It's so funny. I remember one time, and I'm not sure, she played this crazy drug lord on one of the shows.
Was that Vanessa?
I'm not sure which one.
Maybe. That sounds familiar.
I come to the
Alan
set.
would know.
Yeah, I come to the set with my daughter, who's 6-7 years old. Marge is in a straitjacket, walking around talking to her.
Yeah, Alexandra, I don't think was in a straitjacket.
I don't think that was Alexandra.
I just,
it's
like
she was definitely in a straitjacket at one point. I think you're right. I remember when she totally lost it, and she was thrown in a mental institution. I do remember that. And
Amy said she was Proteus.
Proteus, that's right.
On All My Children.
All my children.
Ron, I don't know if you heard us, but Deborah's daughter is getting married this weekend.
Right.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Little Deanie.
Yes, yes. My husband and I are planning the whole thing. So we're heading up.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
She's a very independent woman, just like.
She was going to be a nurse or something.
She is a nurse. She is a nurse.
See there.
Marge
was very proud of that. And
very proud.
Yeah, that's something to be proud of.
Hard worker, very hard worker, very self-determined.
Now that's a noble profession.
Yes,
boy,
isn't it?
Has it really raised the profile in the last 4 years.
So she didn't want anything to do with the make-believe world. She wanted the real thing, that part of the real thing,
I'm going to jump in here.
This is my husband, David.
And just it's been fantastic listening to you guys. It's really great. But I just wanted to chime in saying thank you, first of all, for doing all this. But Dina, I'm a film producer, and I produced a film or two, and Marge acted in one or two of them. and she was great. But I remember taking Dina to New York to hang out with Marj, and Marj was one of my favorite people to hang out with. But she was very much anti-MAME. To such a huge degree that I think Dina saw a world that was kind of make-believe, but also beautiful and funny and bigger than life. And that may have been part of what she wanted to become a nurse.
Right.
She's like, holy God, I can't try to replicate this.
Yeah.
You know, who could, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you guys so much. Thank you very much.
Oh,
I love that. I love
Thank
that
you for
analogy.
saying hello.
It's a privilege to talk about.
I love that analogy.
It's too bad that you couldn't had about 20 people on here, because I mean, she was loved on that set by so many people.
Sure.
You know, the tech crew and the ensemble, the actor. I mean, I'm so glad that she was in my life. You know, my life is better.
Well,
Ron, this is Nicholas who played her son on Capitol.
Hi, Nicholas.
I just lost power and I was able to get the generator working, but I'm sorry.
California. Deborah, did you? And I may have missed it earlier. Do you have a favorite role of your mom's?
A favorite role? Boy, what a great question. I don't think I have a favorite role. Whenever she was being her, that was it. When she was alive, I loved watching her playing in the daytime stuff because she got to get so involved with things. But I mean, a fan mentioned the other night on Facebook that she was in a show called Phyllis. I had no idea. And I watched her scene. It was crazy. I'd never known.
The Cloris Leachman show? Is that the? Yeah.
Yes, and none of us ever. And thank you, the person who did that. So I watched her scene, and the minute she walked in, there was a presence. She was strong. She was direct. She had life. She just, maybe I just hadn't. It was a very calm, cool sense of humor, but such a strong person. She really had a presence. And I think I got that in so much of what she did. I'll probably think of my favorite thing. I loved the facts of life, that she had humor, but I loved.
Well, and you mentioned Star Trek earlier. That will live forever. That is a absolute cult classic. You know,
absolutely.
She will be.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
She will be a Trekkie for life.
Right. Absolutely. She's done every show that you could do in the 70s, like the 60s and 70s that was popular. I
remember Grant Alexander calling me. He said, "Did you see Marj on Gunsmoke?" I said, no.
I don't
she
know.
was just on. She looked great. I said, well, I wish I'd have known sooner.
She did. Yes, she did Bonanza. I don't know if she did Bonanza. She did 20. Bonanza, Wild Wild West. She had a reoccurring role as the madam on Maverick with James Garner. I mean, there were so many things. She never stopped working.
Wow, she was around when it was really happening.
Oh yeah, she was always working, and I just even just watching her in something new last night, it just tickled me. And I remember one time. This is a strange thing. I remember one time I'm kind of good with voices, listening to voices. And one time and I always figure out who it is. There was a radio ad on, and I was going as a bank commercial. I said, "Who is that?" I was like, "God, that is so familiar." But I went, "Oh, it's my mother." It was Marj, and I was like, she was everywhere, and she grabbed you. She grabbed me, and her sense of humor, I think, in life was probably, you guys got to be, I think you guys had so much fun playing with her. There's a lot of work, a lot of real work, but it's a heightened level of being with someone, and the laughing and the joy, and what a great, I envy that you guys got to know her in that way. I really do.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, everyone talks about her infectious laugh. Everyone who worked with her talks about her,
right.
And sort of the if the right word, the bodiness of Marj behind the scenes. She could let it out in the makeup room, and
she lets it rip.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
bawdiness is a very appropriate word to describe her sense of humor.
And she had that down home thing about her. That's what was interesting. I remember my stepmother,
Russell, Kansas.
Russell, Kansas. Russell, Kansas. It really was that value, of you're no bigger than anybody else. You put your bootstraps on, you get your job done. And my stepmother actually said about her when she got to know her, and they loved each other. And she said,
which is
my
rare.
father's.
Isn't that rare?
And she goes, you know what about your mom? She's sweet. And I was like, sweet? That's not a word people use a lot, but she's got a good heart. So she's not negative about people. She really never gossiped, never had that part of her. And I really loved that. It was observations about people, but she never had that kind of vein in her. And I think that allowed her to be who she was, really big, and feel safe with it, in a way.
The fans just said she also tangled with J.R. Ewing on Dallas.
She did?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I wonder.
They know it all.
That's right.
Yeah, they know it all. Yeah,
they absolutely do.
Right.
And really, Ron, thanks to the character of Alan passing away, she got to really nail it at the end of Guiding Light as well.
Yeah.
She went out of Springfield with a bang, and it was nice that Guiding Light gave Jay Hammer the opportunity to take her on her European trip.
Yeah. Oh, just warms my heart talking about her.
What do you all? Could you imagine her thinking this would be happening, and what do you think she'd say, hearing all of you talk?
Oh, she'd like it.
What'd you say?
I said she'd like it.
But
I think she would.
Yeah, I agree.
I think she would be heartened by it.
Don't you, Deb?
Oh, I think she would be heartened, but I think she would be shy, too.
Yeah.
I think she'd be shy about that. But
was there a shy side to your mom?
Not really. I don't think so. Not really. I think deep down there were some insecurities, but shyness, I don't know if she had shyness, She knew she was modest when she was well-rounded,
She give you any advice with you following in this path that she was on?
No, she said, if that's really what you want, she said, when I was young, I said, I want to be an actor. She goes, great. When you're old enough to drive yourself to interviews, to do all that, I'm not going to be that mom that does that. She was not into that at all. I don't blame her. Thank God she didn't. I was not ready to do that or interested in that. But the main advice she always gave me, which I really simple and true, she said, trust your instincts. Just trust your instincts, because that's really, that's where you can't go wrong. So that was her main advice to me that I always appreciated. So
one of the fans just asked, John asked, could she enjoy her last years? Was she able to enjoy them, or was she in too much physical pain?
I don't think she enjoyed when she had friends over and when she had energy, but no, to me that was so sad, because she had everything going for her. She was a member of the academy. She could go to screening. She was invited everywhere. Just so it was really tough. It was really tough. And her body had given her, a hard time throughout her life at different times, which was too bad for her. It had done that. So that was unfortunate. She traveled, we brought her back to LA, got a whole new set of doctors. What could we do? It just, her back, there was something wrong with it. So she couldn't, it was causing her problems. So,
that was my memory of it too, to be honest with you. That, I went to see her in her apartment, her condo that she lived in. I think it was like 56th Street, right by Carnegie Hall.
Right.
Went to visit her one day, and she was in so much pain.
Yeah.
That was tough to see her like that, because
Yeah.
she was so vivacious. She really was.
Exactly.
As a human being, it was just, she had so much life in her.
Mm-hmm.
And to see that this debilitating condition was taking its toll on her. And I remember the last time I spoke with Marj. I remember the date, actually. It was September 11th in 2019, because I was in New York for one night, and I was staying at a hotel right across the street from the Twin Towers where they had fallen. And it was the anniversary. Obviously, it was on September 10th that I went there, and on the 11th, I was only there for the night. I was there with my girlfriend, Yvonne, and spent the day there. And on the way out, because I had heard that she was really not doing well, Marj, and I was driving to the airport, and I called her. That was the last time I spoke with her. I called her to see how she was doing, and just to connect with her, and to give her my support over the phone at the very least, because I wasn't in New York for long enough.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a really nice talk while I was in the car right going into the airport. And that was the last time I spoke with Marj.
That's wonderful. That meant a lot to her. That really meant a lot to her.
Yeah, my heart was going out to her, because I knew that she was really kind of going towards her last days.
It was just unfair that's what it ended up being. Just unfair,
Yeah.
One time I was on a group of us were on a talk show. I don't know, an interview or something. And they were going around saying, who are your heroes in the business, and who are your idols, and blah, blah, blah. And we all came up with something. And Justin Dees said, Marj Dusay is my hero.
Oh.
And we all went, yeah, she's our hero too.
Yeah. Oh, she loved him. She loved him too. She loved you guys. She really did. She really did.
She was magic with every man she worked with, really. I mean,
absolutely.
I mentioned Jay. I mean, people loved Fletcher and Alex together, and both, when it was Beverly as well, but both, they loved it so much. Is there anything, Vincent, Nicholas, even Ron, that you learned from Marj that you always remember, just even a lesson?
Anytime I complain about anything, I think about Marj. I say, wait a minute, you have nothing to complain about. I mean, there are people who are in real pain, and you're not. And so draw strength from their courage, and which I have many times.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I remember one time that it stuck with me. It was very simple. It was sort of the day or the week that we were all notified that we were being booted out and replaced by Bold and Beautiful. And she looked at me, and I looked at her. We didn't say anything, but she just whispered,
What'd you say?
Keep
laughing.
Keep laughing.
Keep laughing. Meaning, don't let the bastards grind you down. I think, but it was so intimate. It was just whispered to me, and I was like, wow, okay, I'll keep laughing, because it's better than crying.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting that you would say that, because I believe when she was going through the loss of her son, your brother, Deborah, that I believe that was probably a philosophy that she had that carried her through that. It wasn't to keep laughing, but to find the joy in what she was doing.
Right.
That seemed to at least gird her during that so difficult time. And I find inspiration in that, and having had the opportunity to work very closely with her during that time, to see that she found some solace, some strength during this period that was devastating for her. It was clear. And when she would leave set, I could see that that was some respite for the period of time when she was putting her heart and soul into the work and finding the joy in what she was doing there. But I could see that still, the moment that she finished, it had its toll. And thankfully that her sister was there for her too as well.
Right. I do think that's interesting because we often, my husband and I, talk about her, and Marj was a survivor. She was a survivor. And I think that what you were saying, Vincent, about her putting it into the work, I think she actually felt and knew if she didn't do that, she'd go crazy. And she didn't want to be a waste to bother anybody with crazy, so she might as well go forward and do that in a way. You know what I mean?
Yes, I think that.
I kind of, that's how I see it for her.
Yeah.
You know?
So her grieving and her way of dealing with it was through her work.
Yeah.
And thank God she had work, you know.
Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely.
Right.
Right. In this business where it's up and down, what a blessing that she had it at that difficult moment in her life.
Right. Exactly. A whole new side with you guys in, the East Coast. Yeah.
Absolutely. Ron, I wanted to mention that plane scene was what she submitted when she was nominated for an Emmy in 1995. That was one of the scenes.
Wow.
Yeah.
She was chewing some scenery, baby. Chewing some airplane. Sense. Yeah.
Janice mentioned that Marj was such a great lady. She called me on July 4th, 2019 to sing Happy Birthday to me. I'll always remember that.
You know, all that gaslighting stuff too. All that gaslighting stuff where she was poisoning me. That was some of the funniest scenes because of some of the things she had to say. We start laughing like crazy. Said, "Oh my God, how are we going to get through this?" You know. But that was real. Alan, no, you take this. No, Alan, you take this and just it's just some tea. It'll be I mean, we would laugh. Oh God, she made me laugh.
I gotta look that up. Thank you all so much for doing this. There's a little photo montage that Deborah shared, some photos that I will play. But thank you all. This really has meant so much to the fans. Your mom is beloved for all of the roles she played, but especially Capital, Santa Barbara, Days of Our Lives, Guiding Light, and All My Children.
And it means so much to me that you gentlemen have come. I know you love Marj. And
your husband's son behind you.
Really, it means so much to me. I can't tell you. I'm thrilled. And Alan, together.
Congratulations, Debbie, on Dina. This is wonderful. What a great celebration.
We hope you have a beautiful, beautiful ceremony on Saturday. And I'm so glad you found me, Deborah. I'm so glad this worked out.
Some people notify me.
It's wonderful to see you, Deborah. And I swear, I feel like I'm looking in a mirror of your mother in a way.
I know. It's crazy.
Your mother in your visage there. You're beautiful.
I wish. So, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks again, everybody.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Alan.